Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. I hope everybody is having a good week. I saw Randy step in as our first one, gets the virtual cookie. We all know he's not camping, so he can't warm that cookie over a fire right now. And Tim, welcome in. Nice to have you in here. And Gopher Girl, nice to have you in here as well, watching all the riffraff out there. So I don't know if anybody noticed in the intro video, the little round black caps that were in there. I miss those deeply. They were perfect. They took glue and paint really well, and they were from Ben and Jerry's dog ice cream cups, and they all of a sudden changed and went to more sustainable and have some other kind of tops that are not useful. And so I turned to these. These are from Pringles cups, but whatever plastic this is, it's a little bit different. It with solvents like super glue, it tends to melt really quickly, and deform the glue and everything. It doesn't work as well, so I miss those little black things. But we have to be better for the environment, I guess. Hi, Mom. Welcome in. Happy Friday. I hope that you are not as cold as we are. We're going to get a very slight warm up coming up this week. Our heads are hurting from our sinuses, but hopefully we get through it. And so I had a question to start out with for folks. So I have this little thing from Excel. It came originally with 15 blades, but I fill it up. There's a spring in here that holds the new blades, and then there's a disposal spot, and you pop out the back of this, and you have all these blades. So I know that our garbage company has stated that they don't want blades in their garbage, and you can understand why, even though I've wrapped them up. So I do this. I badly identified that these are blades on here, but I wrap this up. This is not wax paper, parchment paper. I've done it with other paper before as well. And then I tape them up real good so that they're not going to go anywhere and do any harm. But does anybody know where I can dispose of these? I have another big pack of them to dispose of, and I know they don't want us to put them in the garbage. So just wondering. So it's 6 degrees there, Mom. Does it still feel like 6 degrees? Because I know here it's warm. It's not warm. Why would I say it's warm? Here right now, it's 5 degrees, but it feels like -8 is what they're telling us. But we're supposed to get a warm up in the next couple of days. So tomorrow it's going to be a high of 19, a low of 13. So the wind chill may bring it down a little bit, but then Sunday it's supposed to be 29 degrees with a low of 13, and a few flurries possible. Then it's gonna stay low, but then by Thursday of next week we're gonna hit above freezing apparently. So, and then hopefully it won't go that low after that. Hopefully it'll stay a little higher. Hey, when you need to do a junk food run, you need to do a junk food run. It doesn't matter what the temperature is. So, anyway, so if anybody has any suggestions on the blades. Hey, Ken, we're just getting started. It's pretty early for you. Yeah, I could do that. I've seen those, but it looked like you could only put needles in. But I'll check those out. I was thinking of checking a place like Target too. They often have a lot of disposal stuff that you can do up in the front. So, but yeah, spring is around the corner. Well, tell it to come over here and stop hiding behind, around the corner. So this Campbell's kit, I have yet to get to the box of sticks, and it's already quite the kit. So I spent the week doing this. So the walls are all prepared now. There are a few spots that I need to clean up and get some more pieces on. I've had to do that a couple times. Cutting out the windows was kind of hard. See, that one just popped right off as I was moving it. Those two. So if the Walther's glue doesn't get a good bond, sometimes if I put a hole, like a big area, and I'm not working fast enough, the Walther's glue will kind of dry, and it's not solid after that. So I'll have to fix that. But these windows were hard to cut because you're cutting in the middle of these pieces, and so it caused some having to reglue. This is one here that's needed to reglue. Also, this was very weak. I wish I knew now what I wish I knew now that I could have kept, even though it says to pop out all of the of these pieces. I would have rather gone in and actually done this piece of it and then cut this out up here and then either fix that at the top or just have it in place and solid. So what I ended up having to do was add a piece of styrene because this broke off because it's such a small connection there. So if you're doing one of these Campbell kits and you have a situation like this, it might be a good idea to leave that on, cover it over, then cut the cut around here and go through the aluminum. But outside of that, it's pretty much got through everything on here. And so I actually got through the full step. Yeah, -4 is warm after last week. So I have when I worked at Target for quite a few years, from breaking down boxes, I've had blades from there that happen to not get out of my work pants, and so I have a collection of those, and a lot of them are pretty dull now, so I should be able to get rid of them. Yeah, that's my. Hey Tom, welcome in. That's my only thing about canopy glue is, well, two things. Canopy glue is lauded by airplane model makers because it was designed for gluing canopies because it's super clear. But there are a bunch of other white glues that dry clear as well. And they don't take as long as canopy glue to dry. I think canopy glue, they said like 3 hours, when you can have a nice tacky glue that at least tacks in place while it's drying. Canopy glue doesn't do that as well, but I'm sure it would work. I'm sure there are actually lots that'll work on here, but like I said, I was going with their recommendation. Um, but I mean, this whole thing took up um, almost the whole column here, just for steps 1 to 3, which is essentially doing this. So next step is going to be the next step. I'm going to have to go into package A. So we're going to get to our box of sticks now. I'm going to have to get my calipers out and find which one's A10 and which one is A18. Unlike some there, I forget which. I don't know if it was Blair line, but there are a couple of of IKEA instructions. There are a couple of manufacturers that will color code the. Wasn't Blair line? It was. It was the Stuff Your Face, My Mount models. Color coded their wood on the end of the wood, and then they put the color codes in the instructions, and they were nice and clear and easy to find. It's not going to be hard to measure them out and figure out which one's which. I don't think it will be, but there's that bag of sticks, and then there is a box B bag of sticks. And so that'll be next. That's this right here. And that's really what I worked on this week. Gopher Girl's back doing her job. She's got a part-time job. But it's, she grabs the computer and I don't see it for days now. And so I haven't worked on, and I have that stupid thing called a day job. So I haven't worked on fixing up any of the things that I have left to do on the cars. And then, so I want to get back to doing that, continue working on figuring out the bridge bit, and try to get myself back to the station build, the basic structure of the station, get the because since that's going to be like the centerpiece scene of what should be the layout, I was going to go with that scene as the prototype for the prototype certificate. Now, I have, so some of the, because it's a specific type of traffic on there, it doesn't quite fit one of the prototype requirements. The prototype requirements, I can share this, and let me see if I can. So from a requirements piece, it needs at least four different types of models must be represented. They are rolling stock, railroad structure, caboose or passenger car, and motive power. So obviously we're going to have passenger cars, we're going to have motive power on there, we're going to have railroad structures on there, but I'm going to have to put one or two. I'm going to have to put the gondola and the flat car, or one or both, on in the scene, even though we don't see them going, normally going through New Brunswick Station. But you're going to have Amtrak and Northeast Quarter trains that go through. I could, and those can go through as maintenance away rolling stock. So it's just a little bit of hey, how can we flex that kind of thing versus having that strict requirement, just because not everybody's going to do rolling. There's very few like me that wants to just do passenger, but since I'll have the, I made those as maintenance away cars for New Jersey Transit, so there's no reason I can't use them. I can, because I'm going to do the Conrail stuff, I could certainly do that as well. Then the bridge will be able to be part of it. The station will be able to be part of it, and then we'll have to detail it. Detail the station area and everything, and then put up the catenary, or at least the catenary poles, and see how that goes. But I'll be able to do stuff on there that will go into scenery, that will go into the actual electrical or the civil. It'll be used for multiple things, but I can do that scene as the prototype scene. So that'll take work on the building. It's really highly detailed. I suppose there are sections of the railroad that I could do that have detail but less to do, but that's going to be the primary scene, so I don't see why I can't use that. So yeah, the bag of sticks. So Tom, what are you working on tonight? And if anybody wasn't aware, the latest episode of Crossing Gate Podcast, which Tom produces, is out, and I had to find somewhere to. That's most of the time I end up. Doing or driving to the hobby shop, and that's where I get my listen in on the podcast. So still don't know how excited I'd be to go out this weekend at all. But yeah. So, and I'm not gonna glue these on now because I use I could use my airbrush booth for ventilation, but for soldering I have this thing, and I don't know if I can get it in on camera because it's gigantic, but it's made by Kodo, and it's basically a tube with a little vent hood on the end so that you can bend it around anywhere. And I had it down here this low while I was gluing, and it has a knob on it and gets very, very loud. So I won't do it on here while we're talking, but It has a HEPA filter inside. And this stuff, this Walther's Goose smells strong, very strong. So it takes care of a lot of it, but not all of it. I have yet to react to it, so I'm not as worried maybe as some of the other glues that I react to. But this is helpful, and I use this when I'm soldering because that stream of smoke that comes up goes right in here, and it's really useful when soldering. I got it on Amazon, so if anybody's looking for something like that for getting some of those fumes out of the way, I would recommend one of those. Hey, Ray, welcome in. Ray from Around the Layout podcast. If you haven't heard his podcast, I highly recommend it. If you sign up for his newsletter, he's running a promo right now for a giveaway, I believe, for signing up for his newsletter. Yeah, there's a lot. So there's a few that I listen to out there besides all of those. I listen to Mike and Scotty live, and I think they have part of their channel or part of what they do can be visual too. I don't know if it's through Facebook or if there's a website, but I listen to them. I listen to. It used to be the Matt and Matt podcast. It's now Miniature Models podcast, but it's essentially O scale. Another one of my favorites is the Roundhouse, which is both. It's all railroading and model railroading, and again around the layout. So around the layout podcasts are awesome because it's an interview style podcast where the crossing gate is usually a roundtable discussion style, and they're both very effective, and you get so much out of them. Others I listen to are the Plastic Posse podcast. I'm not gonna have them all. I think he scaled back, but Model Railroad Talk was one of them. The Model Railroad Replacement podcast, which is mainly in Europe, in England, I believe. And then there's one it's the Model Geeks podcast. That's another one. So wherever I have to drive, I always have something to listen to. But all recommended. And then if you the Scale Model podcast, that one is more about like stuff that's coming out and things like that. So is St. Louis is that like the Springfield of RPMs? I don't know if it's just because of regional talk, but I hear about NERPM, which is the Northeast Regional one. We have ours, and then I hear about St. Louis all the time. So, Office Ladies. Is that The Office Lady? Is that from The Office? I could have sworn I heard something on from them. I do have other podcasts that I listen to as well that are not model railroad or hobby related. So, and I think Ray, didn't you have them on your your show at one point when they were planning? I could have sworn that's where I heard some of that information. It's funny that you brought them up because I just heard a segment. They were just highlighting I think the question, what was the scene that they couldn't get through, and Pam was saying that she couldn't get through the scene when they were in with the TV on the wall. That it was supposed to be a big deal that he got the plasma TV, and it was this little tiny thing on an arm on the wall in his living room. Naperville, that's another one I've heard of. I hear about the Bay Area one because one of the guys that's co-producing the New Tracks modeling show. He's out in California and he talks about it. Yep, that's the one, right? So she said she couldn't get through it, and was it John Krasinski couldn't get through it at all. They said they did about 19 or 20 takes on that one. So, so until I can travel to some of these, I'm just going to say that the best RPM is in the Twin Cities. It's the Modelers Retreat. I'm going to go with popularity, Split Rock. We haven't had in the Twin Cities, we haven't had for years. I'm guessing 10 years, we haven't had a show with manufacturers in the Twin Cities. They just got unpopular here. They used to come with the World's Greatest Hobby Show. And I was just thinking about that, how we just don't have manufacturers come out. And the reason I'm thinking about that is, what is it? Oh my goodness. I have my mom's disease. Yes, Mom, I have your disease. It's the I keep saying Blair line, but it's not Blair line. The locomotive I bought, an N-scale locomotive. It was my first big purchase in model railroading. It was $250. That took me a long time to make. The sound was awesome, and I think it was their Paragon 3 at the time, and and it didn't work. It kept stalling. It kept go stall. I had picked up the track, put it down, rewired the track twice. Nothing was working. I couldn't get anything. I couldn't make it happen. So when they were in the Twin Cities at one of the World's Greatest Hobby shows, and the guy who normally does their representation, I went to the table and he absolutely wouldn't talk to me. He just had their engines out and only wanted to talk to people about, I guess, what was coming out or whatever. He just said, contact them on the website, send it in for service. And I'm like, can't you? This was back before everybody was virtual. So he was traveling from there. And I'm like, can't you take it with you? I have it here with me. I knew you were coming, so I have it here with me. Can't you take it with you can't you look at it now or whatever it is? And he was the only one there. And I think he's more of a salesman than anything. And so it was, and he just was pushing me off. So it was really sour with that experience. So I did the thing. I sent it in. They had said that it was a really long wait. It was a 9-month wait with all the repairs that they had to do. That was frustrating to hear that they had that many repairs. And they got it. They worked on it. They sent it back with a little piece of paper with their checks and everything. And they said it was a loose wire. They checked it. And everything works. Put it on my layout. Same exact thing was happening. Tore up the track and wiring again and rewired it. Having no problems with any other stuff I had. And everything worked just fine. And that was a lot of money. It's still a lot of money today. I get there faster than I used to $250. But back then it was like, it took forever. It was everything. It was my first big purchase in the hobby. Absolutely over them. I swore I would never, Broadway Limited, that's who it was. Swore I would never buy from them again, and I won't. And what sucked was the sound on it when it was working was fantastic, and it was Paragon 3, and they were moving to Paragon 4. The other thing in that, with continuing to research what's going on, try and find answers, I came to find out that a problem was identified with that line of engines, and they weren't, with proof of purchase or anything, they weren't helping anybody out and replacing them with working ones. They just pushed it off as a loose wire. And they had, apparently on the box, they have, the way they code them, they have a letter that says what series they are of manufacture. And so all of this series of manufacture were bad. They didn't pull them from dealers, and they didn't reimburse people for the purchases or anything through warranty or anything like that. It was still under warranty when I had it and was going through all this. And so by them not admitting to that, not, doing the right thing and making people whole and having their working product, I've sworn them off for life. And I don't care how good their engines are. I know. Oh yeah, I've been ranting about this for years, and I'll continue to rant about it. I know there are several fans of it, and one of their biggest supporters, or somebody they have an agreement with, who does reviews of their stuff all the time and how great they are. It just left a terrible taste in my mouth. So so then after that, I had gotten a Kato engine, and from there on, all I've ever wanted was Kato engines. So because those work like a dream. Nothing wrong with my layout. It was all their stupid manufacturing problems and their lack of fixing those problems. So yes, you got me going. Anyway, going back to our conversation, and it's not tough to get here because they all got up here. The manufacturers all got here before, so it's not really tough to get here. Although current climate, what it is, probably don't want to be here, but I don't see why they couldn't show up in the Twin Cities. It's huge. It's a huge market. whether it's NMRA or not, there's a huge market of model railroaders in the Twin Cities and in Wisconsin and all surrounding area. So and definitely, what happened? What the heck? All right. Let's see here. All right. So, yeah. So, and then when is the St. Louis RPM? And by the way, anybody else who wants to rant about Broadway Limited, by all means, I'm happy to hear from you. Or any manufacturer or any part of the hobby that you want to rant about. It's all good. So the next steps on here. Next step is not only to figure out which piece that I need from here. I think that the manufacturers can look, well, they can work with their partners that they sell to, like your online retailers. They can work with through whatever whatever sales that are direct. They could find out where the sales are coming from, and I guarantee you that they will find that there is a market in the Midwest that they should be attending to. Economy is what the economy is, and that is going to make you want to limit to the things where you can get the best exposure. So I think, and like I said, NMRA or non-NMRA folks, there's plenty of those in the Twin Cities alone. But we know in our region, which includes Canada and everything, well, we know in our Twin Cities division, we're at 225 members, whether they engage or not with us. If we're that strong with 225 in the Twin Cities boundaries, then you have all the other boundaries. You're talking about another region that's in Wisconsin. There's a market, but if with the economy being worse, they certainly are going to limit where they travel to. I think of the folks from a hobby shop standpoint, not a manufacturer, is the folks in Deschler. The reason they go to so many places is because mom and dad love to travel and love to do the shows. They've always loved to do them, where the sons are working the shop, working the online presence and everything. But I get it if they want to limit and say, look, I can go to Amherst and have exposure to 20,000 people for 2 days, or I can go to some dinky show in the middle of nowhere and see maybe 200, and I have to choose between those because of the economy. I'm gonna choose the 20,000, or any of these other shows if any of the RPMs allow vendors, things like that. or any shows that do, anytime you have a population center, they're going to do better than the other places that don't have a population center. We have a population center here, and so I still think there's a market. But again, I'm not a manufacturer. I'm not a vendor. I'm not any of those things. So what do I know? But I think it's a miss to not be present in our area. And now there's plenty of ways to be present though too, that they could argue that reduces their travel. If there's a virtual presence, that they're always, and if they are, and you get something like the Second Section podcast, where when they go live, they're all over the place, the country, the world. The two guys that do it are based in Wisconsin and have their own group following that has expanded outward. And you get 195 people watching every show live. Manufacturers might be interested. Vendors might be interested in that. Trying to think of another one. And these are extreme examples. SMT Mainline. He's in Canada, and he gets regularly 200 to 250 people when he goes live, and spends a couple hours live doing conversations like this, running trains. So like one of the things I don't have that doesn't draw people to my little world here is I don't have a roundy to have a train running in the background. I don't have that all set up yet. And so you have to want to sit and talk. You have to want to watch me build. You have to want to watch me break things, things like that. But all I'm saying is there's lots of avenues, so it can reduce the travel. So it can be harder to get them out here to the Twin Cities. But I think it's a miss if you don't have some kind of presence in the Twin Cities. So now it wants me to determine, before I get started with the wood, it wants me to determine a color scheme, but that's Gopher Girl's job. It says to determine now the color scheme of your structure, assuming the aluminum will be painted and weathered as corrugated iron. Painting instructions will be given later. Decide if all of the trim parts will be the same color, contrasting color, or stained. Paint or stain all A10 and A18 parts at this time prior to any cutting. So, and then after that, it wants you to start adding them to the walls. So Gopher Girl, what should be the color scheme? Of course, these are all in black and white, so I can't see what these look like, and it's just a manufacturing building, really. And now I'm looking for also on here where they want the A10s. So here's an A10 to go on the side of the building. It's actually looks like it wants to go. It wants to put it on top of the side. So if it wants to put it on top of the side, it's definitely going to be exposed. So I understand why you'd want color for that. The A18s are for the doors. and the trim around here. So those are all exposed, so I can understand why you'd want that. So I suppose it would help to look up some pictures of some old manufacturing buildings to see what kind of color schemes would look good. Yep, even the picture on the front of the box is in black and white. So, does it give any? Does anybody have any idea what time period would have had this kind of full aluminum siding to their manufacturing building? That might help get us a picture. Yeah, but usually Gopher Girl gets it right with the color schemes. I do not. I can't do color schemes. I'd probably have plum locomotives too if I went with the color schemes. The only thing, I hate reds. Red's not my favorite. So I don't like to do anything red. When I watch a sporting event, it's really hard to watch teams that have red as like a primary color. I hate red on red sports. When two teams that are red playing each other drives me nuts. But that's probably more than you wanted to know about me. Excuse me. Ooh. I'm just going out there, taking a quick look if I could come up with anything. I mean, what would I don't even know. That would be the question. What would look good with, or realistic with aluminum? Should I just stain them some kind of brown or black color? Would that work better for most people? I actually like colorful, different paint schemes for railroads. So I actually like seeing what people come up with for their freelance railroads and things. It's kind of neat to see if usually to me, I don't ever remember seeing a really ugly paint scheme that modelers come up with. And yeah. So let's see if I still have. So this one, I still have some stain left in here. That's pretty dark. But I could do that. I have the creosote black stain from Hunterline. I can make my own. I have the India ink. Yellow. You mean like yellow trim around the edges of the doors and at the top of the walls? So I wonder if, yeah, I don't know if you remember me talking through this rust effect from AK that I tried. Like I had mentioned, you'd probably want to rust something up this deep, like this anchor, with this. And the rust effects, when they oxidize, seem to be big for HO scale. And I've watched some other modelers that were that were like doing car models and things like that, and they thought the oxidation was a little is a little too it comes out a little too big of an effect. But I have some scrap. I have plenty of scrap. I could test that out in there and see how that works. But I'll probably end up going back to my default. My default is powders. So I'll probably end up with powders on these. This is going to get plenty of trim on here. It's going to look very different than this because if you look at both the ends and the sides, you're going to have some trim coming off and the roof coming off over top of that. You have trim and support pieces coming off of there. So it'll definitely look different from what you currently see. You can see the other thing I've used, it's going to be hard to see this, but I think this version of this picture, it might be just the lighting, but I thought maybe they had a little bit of, they have weathering on there. I've used the weathering pencils, and you dip those to make them just paint almost. You can still work with them like pencils. Also use powders again to rust that. I did a test a while back with aluminum foil. I don't think I have that test piece anymore. I showed it on one of the earlier live streams, but I was practicing doing the rusting of the metal, and they came out pretty good. I'm still that stage of modeler where I think I over rust things and I overdo it. Yeah, for a locomotive, they'd look awesome. Not for, I don't know about the trim of this building, but I don't know. That's too big of a decision. I'll just leave it up to you to tell me what you think will work, and then we'll do it. Too much thinking for me. Although I do like. So this was the car I tested that the rust on, and I like this blue. This was actually, I don't know if you can see here. It's going to come off. There's a shine on there. But the car was this kind of dark red maroon, and I had painted it with this blue color. This is I kind of like that color, but for the trim, I don't know. So I think it was steel blue. What do you think if I have like half the car coming out of the wall or the roof? Reminds me of a certain place of ill repute in Aberdeen, South Dakota, where my wife is from. It's no longer there, but I think the half a car is still in the side of the building if it's still there. But I don't know. think about that coming out of there. I think that would be kind of neat, like sitting on top of here. I don't know. Anyway, I like that color. That steel blue came out really nice. It's came out dark on here, but yeah. Gopher Girl for the holidays got me a Vallejo Model Air paint set with that was weathering, but it was just a lot of different colors. Where is it? Got like, I mean, this is skin tone. I don't know what you'd use skin tone for weathering for, but it was part of the set. So I have to break into those and use those. I've used a few of them. But yeah, we'll have to. So I have some things to fix. Here's one. This got from cutting, got bent up with this little area here. So that has to be re-glued on. Those two have to be re-glued on. This one has to be cleaned up. So that's the Walther's goo that leaked. But it's flexible glue, so this will clean up real easy usually, although maybe not the stuff that's in there. So we'll have to cover some of that up. But that's just one of the doors on there. So that's what's next. I didn't test out. They wanted me to break out. They wanted you to break out these. I didn't want to open the bag. They want you to test all the, I don't know what these things are. But they wanted you to test the windows, because one of the things I found, and that you can see on the back of these, is a little harder, not up close, but you can see they weren't exactly even cuts and that's why they want you to fit and trim the windows that you're going to use. These are the House of Ill Repute, that big one, yeah. One of those places there. So what am I using that for when I have this? This is one of my favorite sprue nippers. Oh, that one came off, but well, that one didn't fit. How are these going to fit in? They fit in. They fit in. They fit in lengthwise. Why is the one doesn't fit in any of them? So this one clearly has, well, clearly to me anyway, has a sill that what looks like the bottom. Doesn't. People are crazy if they doesn't fit that way. So where am I going to put these windows? Do these go on top somewhere, or is it these? Maybe it's these guys. Oh, look at how cute that is! A little shovel to shovel something. Maybe it's these guys that are supposed to fit in here. I was supposed to do this fit thing, and that's why. So that doesn't fit. So there's going to have to be more trimming. Well, it would help if I did it right side up. But you can see here it definitely needs more trimming anyway. But the back needs some trimming here, I think, as well. So if we reverse it. Yeah, well, that fits mostly. And if we do it the right way with that, yeah. Yep, so this will need some more trimming. So I wonder if these are for the top of the building somewhere. I don't know where those would be exactly. So, where did we do that? That one could use a little trimming. So that's another thing that will need Gopher Girls to figure out what color the window trim will be. Is there? Oh, yeah, there is a smaller. I just didn't want this to go all over the place. Let's come back out a little bit. Oh, I suppose we'll have to see how the door fits. So yeah, that fits in just fine. It's not the prettiest window ever. And then the door will need to fit into here. It does, needs a little itty bitty trim there. So yeah, so we'll need to do a little more trimming on these windows, fix those windows here. We'll do that this weekend. I'll find the right wood. Gopher Girl will tell me what colors we're going to go with. Then I can paint or stain. I mean, I personally would probably stain the wood versus paint it. But I'll look for some pictures on the interweb to see if I can find anything that would fit what this was and give it a go. Oh, see, this is why I didn't want to open them. But lots of barrels in here. Those are so I think this might be maybe not. I would think that was, but they came with these little lights, and I think they'll tell you how to bend these wires to get your lights so that they go in through there and glue in through there. Yeah, so those will go through. There is a hole in that one, but it didn't. I'll have to probably, yeah. Ouch. This is pretty stiff wire, but you'll form. Let's see if we can get one of these out. You'll form it so that you have the light shades over top of the entrances and some. So there's 3 along here. There's 3 holes for them. And they didn't put one in here, but they showed a picture of it with the lamp over there, which makes sense to go over top of that. And this obviously fits through there. Now, what I would rather do than just have this wire is I'd rather light this with a LED. See if we can get one of my LEDs in there, although I don't know if I don't have small enough light, I don't think. Well, maybe I do. So, yeah. These are from Evan Designs. Tom, that is something I don't know how to answer. I've been married so long. But that's a discussion for another day. So, let's see. These are so tiny. So I'm hoping that it'll fit through there. These came pre-wired with resistor, so not easy to get through things. So this would have to. I put these in the Interaction Hobby vending machines. I had Coke machines. I got to find those. I don't know what I did with them. Let's see. I don't know if I can get them in there. If these weren't pre-wired, then I could get them through the other end of the hole. So I think it was. I think it went like this. That's not very bright. So if I can't get them through, I might not be. I might have. I think there are smaller ones than this, but I'm not super sure. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold this and show it lit. I think it is. Oh, what would help if I was? Nope, I don't have the dexterity to do this freehand like that. So I don't know if you can. This one's very dim, and I'm not holding it very well onto the battery, but it could get in there, so I could do that and light them. So I'll have to find a better way to connect them. I mean, it won't fit the wire plus this, I don't believe. I think it's a little small for that. I mean, there's plenty of room in these for this wire, but not with both. Yeah, I can't get that in with that already in there. So we'll figure something out. But that's some of the accessories. Still, I don't know what these things are accessories to. We'll find out, I'm sure. So, yep, we did. Yep, I did the cigarette machines around the same time you did, Tom. The only thing I didn't was going to be hard for them to be able to make sure of. But the knobs look fantastic with gold paint. I remember most of them, for the most part, clear, like they were acrylic or something. back then. But they were that was a fun kit to do. The Coke machine was fun as well. And then I did the taco truck. I think we owe Ken something still. Yes, these are 3-volt, so LEDs. If you're able to manage working with LEDs on your own, you can get the components cheaper and put them together. But for them to put them together and be working and everything, it's worth the extra few cents for Evans Designs to do them. But you can see in this pack, I also have stuff I got from overseas. They work nicely. They already have the resistors on them. And I put them into the cab car. So I have a few things. I got these originally from Evan Designs for the billboard that you saw at the beginning, the opening of this thing. But uh-oh. Did I pick out a dead one, or maybe the battery's dead? Well, that's not a good sign. Maybe it's the battery. Or maybe these just from inactivity don't work, or I have them on. No, I'm going to guess it's the battery. No? Yeah, well, maybe. Maybe it's just my abilities. I don't know how well you can see that shining. But this could be a lot brighter, but it has the resistor right there. It's packed in there. You can see the bumps. So I've put these in a couple of the buildings that I have. A couple of the kits that I've built have these, and 2 of them are in the cab car. And I've got quite a few more to go. I think this is a pack of 20 for, at the time, like $6. And I still haven't put this guy together yet. Still got to do that. Paid my money for it, so I should do it at some point. The other thing I've done is at train shows where I could find Woodland Scenics lights cheap. There was one husband and wife team that had a pile of junk basically out, and everything was $1, $2, or $3, and I got a bunch of the Woodland Scenics stick-on lights for their lighting system, really cheap. I also bought the JST plugs that they use, and a special crimper for them, and I struggled though with the thin wire that I got, getting them on and crimping them together, but it was definitely a cheaper way to go, and I have probably 45 that I could do. So now you're getting into a little more technical than I am. So for the billboard, I got the setup from Evan Designs with the on-off switch with the battery compartment. So I did it for that. With the Woodland Scenic stuff, wouldn't need that. But I just have the components so that I could build them. However, I was, every time I saw the and the other thing with the 4 or 5 shows we have here, we have the same vendors going to these shows, and so I have so I have a bunch of those lights now because I was finding them. They came in 2 packs, and they're usually, I think they're $10 or $12. You can get the light hub with 2 lights pretty cheaply. Power packs always cost money if you can find your own power pack. I was learning how to read the power packs to know which ones to use. Because I didn't get, I ended up getting their power pack, their wall wart. I think it was for when I bought the Woodland Scenics Static King, it didn't come with the wall wart, I don't believe. And I was like, oh, I'll just use the battery. And it turns out it doesn't work as well with the battery. So, I went and I was looking for the right wall wart, and there's some markings on those things that that have to match up correctly. And so so for that, I went and found one. I haven't looked through the ones in Scale Model Supply, but they have a bunch in their back room that you can look through. They have a box full of them. So I'm sure you could get them cheaper because, retail, they want around $20, $25 for these wall warts. And so if you can get them cheaper anywhere, and learning how to read them is easy. I haven't signed up for the operators retreat, Tom. I think I just life got in the way, and I wasn't sure what we were going to be doing. And so I was working on other stuff. So I was working on a presentation for our February meeting, and some of the, I think, I think we're doing a skills day in April. Of course, I should look at the website because the website has everything before you tell me to go to the website. But I didn't sign up for the operators retreat this year. So, March, the modelers retreat was the next thing I was looking to. That's in March. But for all of our events, so that go there to find all of our events and other Twin Cities and surrounding area events. But we have essentially February 28th is our operations retreat. March 14th is the modelers retreat. That's our RPM meet, which is getting a new venue. So I'm excited to see what the new venue will be like. Then we'll have our member meeting on March 18th. Then another one on April 15th. We'll have April spring layout tours. May we'll have a members meeting. Did we not set up another skills day yet? I thought we were going to have a skills day around April. So, but I really enjoyed the last layout tour. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the spring layout tour will bring us. Right now we have the last layout tour information on there. So they're working on that. And after the May meeting, I know that we'll have some summer picnics set up. But lots are coming. Tom, are you opening your layout for the operations retreat? How about you, Ken? Are you opening yours up for the ops retreat? So I dabbled in Arduino, Randy. I started following these. A guy put out a series of like 40 or 45 lessons. Of course, you buy the pack of all the different things. And I think you need a little practice, but you can get it, and you can get other people's sketches. But I really think the Arduino thing's really neat. I was really excited when I got the basic traffic light thing down that they showed. Is yours technically, is that to show folks from the narrow gauge, or are you considering your layout a narrow gauge layout? So, but I really enjoyed working with the Arduino. I never put anything into action. I was just practicing on it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who have sketches out there for model railroad stuff. Jeff Bunza, I'm sure some of you are familiar with Jeff Bunza, but he's like a guru with that stuff, and he's put all kinds of things out. And I've seen some of his work. He for the New Tracks modeling a few years back, he did some animated stuff. Where I think he had a warehouse, an old time warehouse, and he had like a crane pulling stuff up and a person at the window of that supposedly bringing it in, something like that, if I remember correctly. But he's really good. So if you can find his stuff. Do we have a lot of Twin City modelers that have narrow gauge layouts? I've not been up on narrow gauge. I haven't, so I'd be interested in probably checking out the convention. But I guess with being mostly interested in the passenger stuff, I have never really gotten into the narrow gauge. Give me 1 second. I will be right back with you. couldn't get off of that for a second there, but I'm back. So I wanted to talking about Arduinos for a minute. So this was the pack that it came with. It came with the Arduino. Believe it or not, it came with a CD with PDFs on it, and it came with this big pack and all of these components, and it wasn't too expensive as I remember it back in the day, but it might be more expensive now. There are a few sizes, so smaller sizes than this and larger sizes, but this is called the Uno, an Arduino Uno. You have a power source that goes in, and then you have all these connections. And for practicing all of these things, you have this the breadboard for it. So I was doing all the things, but this one has all these components, has all the wires for it, and some motors and components in here. And then you would follow along on the course online, and I don't know if you had like 50 courses to go through all these different things, how to make the lights, how to make lights the way you want them, how to operate a motor, do digital displays, all kinds of things. And it came with a bunch of LEDs and tons of resistors and switches. The potentiometer is a big one because, like, if you're controlling your lights, you're controlling the brightness of your lights, you control them with a potentiometer. So it was going through all those lessons. So I just think I'm out of practice with it. But I get back into that and basically I could set up something with this type of thing with an Arduino for what Woodland Scenics does. Woodland Scenics is no, they don't usually just jump in. They usually sleep. Is what they do mostly. So anyway, so I enjoyed doing that, but for it to stick, I need practice. So, well then, Randy, what we need to do is to just go around the Twin Cities and you wire up everybody's layouts. So at some point, if I don't I don't see myself anytime soon building the bench work for my modules. I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't move around as well. And the tools I have are even older than they were when I was using them to build the ones I have. I tried to do some kind of standard with the modules I have. I don't think they would fit any specific quite. They're just 2x4s. They have the end plates that are supposed to be like Fremo end plates. But I have like 7 tracks that cross over. It's nothing like that. So one of the things I was tinkering with was the idea of, because I'm not going to, I'm going to have to save some money to have somebody build them for me. So in the meantime, I was thinking that if I was going to build things like this, like the well, it's Randy that brought up the Arduinos. But I'm not sure. Um, so okay, so you make the computers that run everything. So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Damien would have some knowledge in that potentially, but I'm sure if you threw it out there, threw the question out there on the interweb, some folks might step forward as long as you don't promise them that they're going to have to help people with Arduinos at the Malware's retreat. But yeah, so um, I think there's a trade. I think what's great about for me, and I never say that something's too expensive for other people. People will say this is affordable, and I know it's not for me, and those sorts of things. So I will say, for me, I thought the Woodland Scenic stuff is a bit expensive, but I can also see the convenience of it. It's already everything you need in place. So if you don't want to mess with making it yourself and getting it right and all those things, but you could essentially do the Arduino the same way, and still have a potentiometer to if you wanted to do it manually, but you can program in an Arduino to dim LEDs and things like that. So there are lots of commands that you can do in the programming language to change the functionality of the LEDs, even though they're static LEDs. You plug them in and they'll do what the commands tell you to do. And so you could potentially have a setup um, um, like the Just Plug setup by using an Arduino, and you could program in the quote unquote randomness of lights going on and off or dimming at a certain hour. So if you're going to have dusk and then night on your layout, you can use an Arduino to program your lights around your layout to come on at dusk, like in a parking lot, and in an apartment building, you can change the lights based on, whatever random pattern you want to do to have different lights on and off. So something tells me, Split Rock, that you won't necessarily fall asleep if it answers a question of yours that you have. I think you catch on. I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Um, but as you're using the Just Plug system on your layout. That's going to take care of what you need for it. You don't need to program one of these because you're going to have what you need. I like the potential of it. I haven't, like I said, I haven't done anything permanent with that. These the Arduino boards used to be cheap too, but with everything else that goes up in price, I don't know that they're as cheap. But one of the things you hear all the time are Raspberry computers. Those were also really, really cheap and now aren't as cheap, but they're bare bones computers just needed to do things like program Arduinos or power Arduinos and manage the coding for the Arduino. You can get something like that. You don't have to buy some expensive laptop or even an expensive laptop or used laptop. You could buy one of those, hook it up to screens that you have. So there are things you can do. See, now that would be really neat for the lights for the theater, for sure. Um, so yeah, if you're gonna get into the whole LCC thing, to me, and maybe I'm oversimplifying LCC, but LCC is just another command bus for me that takes it off of your digital command bus, and you can control all the other things. So you can control your layouts, lighting, um, your traffic lights to go off at certain times, and all the other accessories. That's what LCC is for. I haven't gotten into the weeds of that, but generally that's how I understand it. And um, again, letting the techies get into the weeds with those things. If I know just how to, like for instance, DCC wiring wasn't any special thing to me. I just knew I needed a red and black wire, for to use red and black wires to differentiate the outer and inner um, um, track track the outer part and the inner part of the track, the feeders to go down from that, and that you needed a bus line for each of those, the inner and outer, and you have two bus lines going across. So I have red and black under my layout and stuff. So for me, that was always easy. Now I didn't ever have anything hard on my layout to deal with, like lots of switches or yard ladder or anything like that. So I suppose parts of the board are plastic, and you could have some 3D printing in there, but I mean, who's going to make a circuit board like that themselves? If there are, yeah, that's true. It would be nice to know who. It would be nice to know who does what well, and who's willing to do those things to help you out. Um, Me as more of a lone modeler, I kind of want to try things all the time. Um, but sometimes I have questions on how to make things work that I can't make things work. Like for instance, I was like, where can I go to bring blades that I'm trying to discard? I know I got to discard them somewhere else than my garbage. I know I got to, protect people from hurting themselves with them, but didn't know where to go. So I need an expert on that. And Randy came through. And so I have some places to try. But I have some videos, one or two videos, I think, where I did updates where I think I showed the traffic light signals changing using the board, that board in here and the LEDs on my channel. I know Tom's not interested in it in the Arduinos, but for those that are, I definitely have some updates with that. And so if we go to my channel and we look where my videos are, where videos, they were from a while ago. Way back. So I think I was doing some airbrushing at the time too. There's let's copy that. Anybody wants to see what I was working on, you can check out that. I think that had some multiple details in there. It has the chapters, but I talk about the starter kit and their uses in model railroading, lessons, progress, and then I do the traffic light simulation through that. So if you want to jump to where I talk about the starter kit, it's at 102 in that video. If you want to just see the traffic light simulation, it is at 420. So you can check that out. So my advice comes from in the form of what not to do. So I take a different angle on that. I try to show you how I screw up, and so you know how not to do something. For instance, don't break those. I mean, the other one, just being in the box and being moved around, is also going to break off if it hasn't already. I don't know what I did with that, but something like that. But with the helps of the likes of the advice, the cheap advice from Tom and from Ken, probably got me to this point that said, hey, I can fix it with a piece of styrene. So thanks, guys. There's plenty of that. Absolutely. Can we copyright that? Lessons from the trash can? That would be a very special kind of skills day. How many things can I get into the trash can in one skills day session? So let's see here. Okay. We've been going for a while. That was probably because I spent the first hour ranting. I think we need lessons on how to read directions. I think if we can teach people how to read directions, then they'll never have problems with kits. But speaking of that, if we have anybody, I don't know how to phrase this. It would be interesting if we could get the supplies to do it, but have like 2 basic kits of some kind that are really cheap somehow, where we can do like a kit bash contest for the members, like where we could hand them the kits and do a kit bash contest, and then have have them present how they did it. Maybe I think that would be a pretty neat thing for us to do, but I don't know how we would fund that and what kind of kits we would be able to get at a really cheap price and ensure we had enough for people. We are not sponsored here at the Just Jump In live stream. We would love to be sponsored. I would love to be able to supplement my income and for the hobby. And one of the things I've always wanted to do I thought would be a neat idea for me to learn and for other people to learn was if they had ideas of like something they wanted to try and they weren't sure they want to try it or didn't want to spend the money, if I was making enough money um, um, to in the hobby to do it, to then go out and buy whatever was needed to try something. Like for instance, to just plug lights. If people just weren't sure they wanted to go with that, I would want to try that for them, or sculpt a mold, which I've done. I can rant about my social media manager. I I suppose the I suppose I did that with the 40-foot boxcar, with the Lionel HO boxcar. Yeah, when I built the line side structure. I suppose that could be considered a kit bash, maybe. It. I'm going to be diplomatic, Split Rock, and say it depends on the sponsorship deal. I don't. That's why I'm very careful about recommending people for things and doing all those kind of things. Um, I would be an honest guy doing an honest um, review if I'm going to review stuff. And it's not that I want to review stuff, but I want to be able to say, this is how I learned to put it together, and here's how to do it. Um, or this is how I jumped in and made this work. So you're the highest paid social media manager I have. Um, so I would certainly be honest about it. I don't think I could say, okay, I got $500 worth of stuff here to review. Um, and um, and it's great, and then you go out and buy it. So the okay, here I go. I don't think it's a rant, but I always get a little jealous of the guys that do really well. They're handed this stuff. Some of them have to give stuff back, some of them don't. But some of them do really well and even have their subscribers send them stuff. Um, and you know, um, things like that. So they do well for their hobby, and they make the money to in that way, or make or get the stuff instead of the money. Um, I would have to be upfront with if I was actually being sponsored for that and say, look, it is going to be an honest review. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to recommend it. I probably am not going to get a lot of sponsorship deals that way. I suppose I'd have to have a functioning layout for a lot of the stuff anyway. But yeah, I just thought that would be a cool idea to be able to people who weren't sure if they wanted to invest the money in doing something. But my thought is more of a making than than let's say getting the BLI um, um, Thunder system or whatever, the one they put under the layout years ago, and testing that out. I wouldn't say that I wanted to go that way. I would say, you know, if they wanted to try a Campbell kit, I would try it. I would give my honest opinion about how it is to put together the directions, the steps, all the things, um, so that they can make their own decisions on that sort of thing. But I envisioned it more of, I don't know, making stuff. So, hey, Randy, thanks for being the first in, and have a fantastic night. So, but if there are anybody, Split Rock, that that wants to give me $500 worth of stuff to review, and they're willing to get an honest review, I'll do it. So I'm not above that moral part that says you're going to give me stuff. I'm just going to say I'm going to review it honestly. But if I ever get to that, I have the Gruesome Casket building. We'll have to put some signage on there for the TCD and the Crossing Gate podcast. Eventually, if I get to that. That's a big kit, that the one I got that in when I was in New Jersey one year at the Burlington County Club in Cinnaminson, New Jersey. They have their hallway is their store. So when you're walking down into where the layout is, you'll go through this long hallway, and on both sides of the hallway are shelves full of stuff. That's where I got the engineer's book for the Northeast Corridor that I really like, that I'll use for when I get tracked down. And they had the Gruesome Casket, and that was the first thing I thought of, is I need to do something for the Twin Cities division with the Gruesome Casket building. But with that, I will say that, it's been a long night of ranting and raving, and I'm sure you probably don't want to continue to hear me rant and rave. So I will call it and say have a fantastic night and a fantastic weekend. Stay warm and safe wherever you are. I'm staying in and warm as much as I can. And we'll be working on some model railroading stuff this weekend, and I hope you are too, and I hope that you just jump in. Have a fantastic night, everybody.